At the company board meeting, my husband's father, the CEO, glared at me and said, "You're fired. Poor performance." I thought getting fired was the worst part of my day, until I found a list of women's shelters on my kitchen counter, highlighted and circled by my own husband. It wasn't just a betrayal, it was a carefully orchestrated demolition. They thought they'd stripped me of everything, left me with nothing. But what they didn't know was that I'd been quietly building my own escape route. But let's back up, because to truly grasp the gut punch of that moment, you need to understand how meticulously I'd constructed the life they were so casually tearing apart. It all started 3 years before, at a cybersecurity conference in Boston. I was an independent consultant, riding high, feeling like my future was entirely in my control. That's where I met Jack Caldwell. He wasn't like the others in those stuffy rooms, scrolling their phones during presentations. He actually listened. He asked smart, technical questions that proved he wasn't just there for the networking lunch. He was engaged, leaning forward, genuinely interested in my work on predictive threat architecture. After my presentation, while other consultants awkwardly pitched me their cards, Jack waited. His smile felt genuine, not rehearsed. We talked for 2 hours straight in the hotel lobby. He represented his family's firm, Caldwell Technologies, but he spoke about it with a refreshing distance. He asked insightful questions, shared valuable industry knowledge, and listened intently to my theories. When he asked for my contact information, it felt professional. 3 days later, when he called to ask me to dinner, it felt like pure possibility. Our courtship unfolded with what I genuinely believed was respectful deliberation. He introduced me to his world gradually, quiet dinners, then a weekend trip to Cape Cod where we walked beaches and talked about everything but work. Then, slowly, into his social circle. He never rushed. He always checked in, making sure I was comfortable. At the time, that patience felt like respect, like he truly saw me. Looking back now, I can see how it was also an assessment. Each step, a test to see if I'd fit into the carefully predefined space he had for me. 6 months after we met, Jack took me back to that same Boston hotel. This time, he proposed over coffee, not champagne. Jeans, not a suit. The ring was beautiful, understated. Everything about it felt authentic, like he understood that I valued substance over spectacle. I said yes before he'd even finished asking, convinced I'd found someone who saw me as an equal, not an acquisition. My mother's reaction, though, arrived like a distant storm warning that I chose to ignore. When I called to tell her the news, there was a long, heavy pause. "That's wonderful, honey," she'd said, her voice careful. "Just remember that families like the Caldwells operate differently than people like us. You'll always be an outsider." I dismissed her concern as generational cynicism, the worldview of someone who'd struggled her whole life. Jack had assured me repeatedly that his father, Henry, valued expertise and results, that he'd built his empire by recognizing talent, no matter the background. I believed him. The alternative meant acknowledging I was walking into something far more complicated than love. Our wedding 8 months later felt like it reflected my preferences. Elegant, intimate, focused on commitment. Only much later did I realize how many of those choices had been subtly steered by Jack's suggestions, his family's expectations dressed up as my own taste. I kept my maiden name professionally, a decision Jack publicly supported. But his mother, Patricia? She had a way of cutting you with a smile, making small, pointed comments about tradition and family unity. I saw Jack's public support as proof of his progressive values, evidence he was different. Full story on the channel. Link below. Click now and watch what happened next.